11, okay.
Hi everyone. Just to say, we're just waiting a few minutes for latecomers to join us. So if you're here for the talk about Israeli agriculture and water management, you've come to the right place. We're just waiting a few minutes for anyone else.
Oh, hi everyone. I believe you can hear me. Awesome.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Wow. Awesome. Wow. Today, it's a wonderful day. We are touching on a very wonderful topic. We are talking about agriculture, water management, just to do with food security, with case study of Israel, but also I'm glad being joined by Professor Mike Rudolph, who is the director at the Center for Ecological Intelligence. Professor Mike, welcome.
Thank you.
Maybe
Thank you.
just before Lughano comes in, you can just maybe greet us from Johannesburg. Yep.
Thank you so much, Chipanaro. Always good to link up with you and other colleagues. Hi, Prof. Glazer. Shalom.
Shalom.
Good to talk to you. And and hi, David. David Chapot.
Hello, Professor. It's good to speak to you again.
Meet you and Lughano. Have I met Lughano before? Not sure.
I don't think so. I think
No.
it's the first time.
Oh, okay. Good to
He's
meet
another, he's another young man that you really love, Prof.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, yes, this is a very real issue, Chifanaro, that we're experiencing in terms of water at every one of our projects, whether it be urban at the university or in the greater Johannesburg or in peri-urban or rural areas. In each one, there are unique challenges, but as we all know, where there are challenges, there are also solutions, not necessarily always easy, but we need to explore and test out these different systems and just check that we can replicate them and improve and enhance them for the benefit of the communities in which we work. So I look forward to hearing the other input and sharing our experiences as well.
Wow, amazing, amazing, amazing. Wow, amazing. So in terms of today, we will have we'll start our conversation today with a presentation by Lughano. He's a young man. He's an expert in irrigation and water management. Has a master's degree. He has been a lecturer at Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources, and he owns an irrigation and water management company here in Lilongwe. Lughano, over to you, please. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you, Chifuniro, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
You can unmute your, please unmute your video as you are uploading your presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Let me share my presentation. Right. Thank you. Let me just share my presentation. This one. So, as Chifuniro said, my name is Lughano Mwenibabu. It's not Lughano, but Lughano, as in it's a local language in some parts of Malawi. So my background, as he said earlier on, I have done much of irrigation for the past 7 years to 8 years, which after I finished my first degree at the University of Malawi. Then I currently founded a company soon after I finished my master's in New Zealand, which is Aroha Irrigation. And I'm also working as an adjunct lecturer at the Lilongwe University of Agriculture and Natural Resources, the same university that I went to. So first of all, just introduce a little bit of our company and what we do. So as I said, after I saw what was happening in New Zealand, I had a very good experience with the irrigation sector there. So I was interested to start something on a small scale so that we can grow with it and then maybe contribute to the development of irrigation in Malawi. So what we do, basically, we trade, we import irrigation equipment from overseas and from the surrounding countries, and we trade those equipment locally. So this was our first container that we got last year. And also, we also design and install irrigation systems, that is sprinkler irrigation systems, home loan irrigation systems, water supply systems, solar water pumps, and greenhouses. This is some of the stuff that I just said. We have done some few projects like this one that you are seeing here. This was a project that we did at Kasungu prison, which was being implemented by the UN that looks after the prisoners in the world. So they were implementing this project, and we took part in this project, and we like the progress that is happening. And it's one of the projects that we show off to people, and it helps us to show them how it should be done, because we believe so most of the people like in Malawi, they don't know drip irrigation systems or high technology irrigation systems. So when we post this like on Facebook and we promote them, it becomes easy for them to understand exactly what is supposed to be done. Like we have got some comments like from people commenting like, is this from Malawi? So that has been encouraging to see that we are able to get some of the technologies that are taking place in the other parts of the country. We have recently done these projects as well. Like the bottom picture, we had a meeting with the Minister of Agriculture, whereby we are trying to install a drip irrigation system for beans, for winter beans. They want seed. They want to be growing seed of beans. My experience in New Zealand, I took part in one of the research done by an organization called Irrigation New Zealand that looks after Irrigation New Zealand. So I was so much inspired with the farming that is taking place in New Zealand. I learned, I call it a true definition of agro-based country. If you go to New Zealand, you find there are farms everywhere, just except maybe the area where people are inhabiting, like cities or towns. So it's in comparison with Malawi, where we have got more population and under a small size of land, we still have a large area which is not being used for irrigation. I also learned more about financing and government support in steering irrigation, so that the farmers should have adequate support for them to be able to grow the required products or crop products that might be required on the market. I also learned commitment and dedication, how the New Zealanders are committed when it comes to farming, and also using technology that is available in other countries, which they haven't invented themselves, but they're able to inhabit that and use it for their own advantage. So why do we need irrigation in Malawi? That's been a question which is very has got a very obvious answer, but I like to ask this question because it gives us it ignites the thoughts for us to think better, like to start on from how it ignites the thinking point. So for example, the first one is to ensure that we have got wet season crops. So the lanes these days with climate change, we have got erratic rainfall, so we can't rely on rainfall all the time. So like this year in Malawi, we had droughts in the northern part of Malawi. We had droughts over maybe close to 30 days. So if we had irrigation systems installed, we wouldn't have lose production. The second part is Malawi, we grow crops during dry season. It will help us to grow crops during the dry season, because Malawi only receives rain within the four months, like from November or to somewhere in March. So we have the whole 8 months in the year without rainfall. So irrigation helps us to do things. If we can do that, it will help us to increase production. Malawi has been underproducing almost each and every year. Like most people are going out hungry. But then with irrigation, it might help, it might ensure that those people in the villages to come up with enough production and raised income as well, and improved diets. And also the greatest problem that we have in country, the foreign exchange. We don't really have much of the forex in the country. Like recently, we had a fuel crisis because of the forex, because mostly we don't have much to share to the outside world or to exchange to the outside world. So irrigation might give us a platform to have more product
Lughano, can you hear me?
No, we seem to have lost him. He's just dropped out the call.
Oh, okay, fine. Maybe he may join us later on. That has to do with the issues of internet. I'm suggesting maybe, Professor, you can just start your presentation, and then Professor Mike Lughano may come at the end. He should sort out the internet issues.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Should I start?
Yes, Professor, please.
Okay, I will start. Okay, very good. Really sorry, it was quite interesting to hear about the background and what they've achieved and doing, but I had also some questions that I wanted to ask, but okay, I will start with my presentation. A good afternoon or evening. What is the time now in Malawi?
This is 19 minutes past 4.
Okay. So we are 1 hour earlier. I mean, 1 hour more. But anyway, I'm going to give you the Israeli experience about water management. I would say that this here it is. Okay, everybody can see it. It's okay. My name is Itamar Glazer, and I am retired from the Volcani Institute. I retired a year ago. I spent 34 years at the Volcani Center, which is the agriculture research organization of the Ministry of Agriculture in Israel. And we are I dealt with many levels of management, including head of a department, and then I also was the head of an institute. An institute is a organization like a faculty at the university, and at the end I served as the deputy director of research and development of the entire organization. So I had the opportunities to look at things from different perspective, and also historically. In addition to that, personally, I am also former, I would say farmer by myself. I was raised in a village, and I irrigated and did a lot of work with water management, etc. So I will try to give you some sort of a background about the Israeli experience with water, and it will be what is the significant water challenge in Israel, and the potential for success, and the infrastructure, waste mitigation, and alternative water sources and water efficiency. I think that I will leave, if anybody will have any question, I think it will be at the end, because with this system, it's difficult to follow. But if I compare the two countries that we are dealing with, that we are discussing, Malawi and Israel, you can see that they are all they are long, but Israel is. But if you look at the distribution of water, of precipitation, you realize that it doesn't matter. The colors may be the same, but the scale is completely different. In Israel, it starts from minus or from less than 100 millimeter to range, in the best case, 600, 700 millimeters, while in Malawi, it's just twice or 3 times higher precipitation. So we dealt in Israel with as the country was developed, we dealt with a scarcity of water, and we had to address it. Israel was established. I'm not going to go through the whole history of Israel, but the country was established in 48, 75 years ago. And one of the first projects, one of the first issues that we had to deal with was water. Because of the scarcity, because of the uneven distribution of water. And if I will say, jump immediately to these days, for today, we have an excess, we have an overproduction of 20% of our needs, and we are giving, selling, providing water to our neighbors, to Jordan, and from the Lake of Galilee, and this is the major success that I will try to explain how it is working. I'm not sure that we'll be able in the given time to provide all the information and explain everything. But so how it was done? Beginning, as I said, that the country was established in 1984. In the year 2050, they started a major project, regardless of the wars, regardless of the poor economic situation, the huge migration of people, of Jews from different countries coming to Israel. They realized and put an emphasis on establishing a major project of what we call the water delivering from the northern part of Israel, from the Kinneret, from the Lake of Galilee. By the way, I don't want to get into this, but all these places have a very strong religious connotations to, for instance, the Lake of Galilee is where a tabernacle and where Jesus walked on the water, and there are many stories involving it. But it served us as the major source of water, and there was a huge project delivering for 250 kilometers, going down from the northern part of Israel all the way to the south. When you start the country, very young country with very limited sources, not stable, not sure what is happening, going into such a major project is really, you realize how important water was for the development of the country. In 1959, there was established a water law, in which indicated that all the water resources in Israel are public. Even if you have a well, your own well, the water belongs to the people, and this made a big difference in controlling and managing the water sources. Another thing that is very typical to the Israeli culture is what we call education about wasting of water. You see this beautiful lady, she is one of the top models in Israel, international known, and she participated in a campaign to reduce the use of water and also to save water. And they saw her face in the movie were cracking down, drying. This was very influential on the public, and as you see here, an 18% reduction in water use in urban areas was achieved just based on this kind of advertisement on the television. In Israel, you will never see a dripping faucet. You will never see a leaking water, because people have very much awareness of water saving. and they are immediately, once somebody will see such a thing in a neighboring yard or in the public, he will immediately alert the authorities that will come and fix it. People are very concerned about water waste. Mekorot is our water company. They control and manage the water system in Israel, and they have a world record of having the minimal leaks in the system. They reach about 3% of the total water a year, while an average of certain countries reach between 15% to 35% in water systems. In Israel, there is a big concern and a lot of measures taken. Another thing is this system which each household have this device that calculate the water and the water use in the house, but also give alerts in case you have some sort of a leakage. For example, in my yard, if something goes wrong and I have a leak or I'm using too much water, they get it from with a communication to a center, and they immediately alert me in my municipality. So there is a big, not concern, but a big, people are aware for water saving mentality. And there is another approach of using other sources for water usage, and this is to do with when you talking about alternative sources, not only well water or rivers and lakes, but because we hardly have any. You're talking about brackish water, recycled wastewater, and desalinated water, which I will give you some examples about it. Israel is using over 90% of the water that are being wasted from the sewage. They are obtained by particular facilities and then treated and used for agriculture. This is the world record, which I will show you in comparison to other countries. And they are also reducing fertilizers because the use of breakage water or recycled water from these kind of facilities has high content of nitrogen and other chemicals, and they are reducing the use of chemicals for cultivation of orchards as well as vegetables and field crops. Another major project that was established maybe 15 years ago is the desalination of seawater. Seawater being pumped into the machines and then they desalinated in large facilities that were developed here. And actually most, I won't say 100%, but most of the water now used by urban population and also in the industry are obtained from these sources. Very little is dependent on precipitation or wells or any other sources. Some, not lakes, but areas where water is accumulated. But most of it, over 90%, 85-90%, is obtained from these sources, from the desalination. As I said, we have even a surplus. Some of them are not in full capacity production, and some of them are in are producing enough from all year round. So we're completely non-dependent on natural precipitation of water. And these are some of the facilities, because once the water is being pumped into the system, they show that by adding some calcium and magnesium to the distilled water, you can use them almost as a normal well and natural water, and this improves the use of the use in the field. This system is not only in the case of water from the sea, but also in some arid areas where the wells are very, very saline. They contain a lot of salts in their in the water. The level of salt is the concentration of salt is high. They put these small desalination systems that are used, and they purify the water to the point where it can be used, despite the fact that they are originally very, very salted. As I said before, use of recycled water in Israel, it has 85. I think this chart is not is a bit older. I think now we reached 90% or something like that, but very high. The next one after us is Spain. Also, the numbers there all increase. It's 25% to 30%, but still by far much less than in Israel. And definitely other countries, developing countries, nevertheless developed countries, they are behind for in this kind of technology. The idea is, if you see here in this chart, is that you pump the water from the sewage from the urban and the industry area, get it and recycle it for and purifying it for twice or 3 times, and then you can use them for irrigation. Efficiency of use of water. First, one of the approaches is to understand the plant needs and also deliver the exact amount. Delivering the exact amount is called in a different aspect, precision agriculture. I hope you are familiar with this kind of terms. I will show you some approaches that we are developing in Israel at the Volcani Center and also in other places that are being utilized. This is the site fertigation. Fertigation means fertilization and irrigation. Together, the term is fertigation. And we're using lysometers. These are facilities that where you put your plant, usually trees, in large scale, other plants, vegetables in smaller scale, and then you can measure everything that comes in or comes out from the system, and you can optimize the system. You can put in water. You can they are laying on the scale, and every drop is measured. Every chemical that goes in, everything is measured and monitored, and then you can optimize your system and give the tree the exact amount that they need. Another systems are sensors, what we call the Dr. Dolittle system for the plants. These are monitors that can detect the situation inside the trunk, and they know the fluctuation of water and water need, and provide information to the irrigation system to provide just the exact amount of water needed for each tree in each time of the year, of the day, etc. Another aspect, as I mentioned, is precision agriculture, is monitoring a monitoring system or the monitoring field with different sensing equipment. In this example, you can see some grape vineyards which are over-irrigated and normally irrigated, and although they look the same, you can detect with infrared analysis, with infrared detection, you can detect difference and optimize your system. Another one is also in the same approach is when you have leaks. Here you can see those patches of leaks of water, which you can fix and save a lot of water just by monitoring it on a regular basis. We in Israel, we together with the French government, the Authority for Space launched a satellite that is called Venus, and it covers the country several times a day and provide information for agricultural purposes. And using this system, we monitor different aspects, especially for precision irrigation, for field crops, for vegetables, and also for orchards. This is, I just wanted to bring you one example. There are many more of how this developed. If you look down at the bottom, you see the years, the development from 1960 to 2015. You can see the drop in water used based on the different measures for saving water that I mentioned, and maybe others that I didn't, and the increase in the yield based on the optimization of irrigation, optimization of fertilizers and other aspects. And this was achieved within this period, save a lot of water and reduction and increase, a tremendous decrease, almost 3 times of the yield of bananas. In the average banana yield in Israel. So in overall, we managed to optimize the system, so we use it much more effectively, much more efficiently, from 5 times, 4 times more efficient over the years. There was a continuous increase in a unit per area, use of a cubic meter per area, and use of and the reduction of the total use of the water. Another aspect that we are developing has to do with a development or approaching the climate changes that are occurring, you know, big heat waves, big storms, etc., and the reduction in precipitation in some areas where we are developing wheat. Israel is the origin of wheat in the world. 10,000 years ago, mankind found and they developed wheat and the flour for consumption in this region about 10,000 years ago. And so the origin of wheat, the original varieties that still exist here, and we are using some of them to use as sources for genetic improvement of wheat to resilience to climatic changes. And there are two kinds that we are really proud about. Is Benedictus. It's named after Benedictus XVI, a former Pope, and Aviv. These are Aviv means in Hebrew terms means spring. And these are very resilient to heat waves. At the end of the growing season in Israel of the wheat, we have a very strong heat wave. The temperature can reach 40, 45 degrees for a few days. And they are very tolerant to this kind of conditions and can still set seeds, and they have a high quality in comparison to the former. Drip irrigation, which we are which was invented in Israel, and we're very proud of it. So we are drip irrigation is reducing the use of water by 60% and increasing the crops. I'm sure most of you are aware of it, and I don't have to emphasize about it. But there have been some issues, some problem which I saw from the presentation before of a gravity powered and drip irrigation system, and they developed this kind of container that you can put and can have the irrigation in the field, even where you don't have pumps to increase the powers without the need for costly electric. Although nowadays there are also means of using the sunlight to obtain, to generate energy for this kind of pumps. This is another system that is used in, I think, 17 or 20 countries around the world. This is in general what I had to say to give you some examples. Of course, for each crop, for each technology, there is a lot of other issues and other aspects. There are a lot of still issues to be developed. And I concluded, and I'd be very glad to answer any questions.
Wow, thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much, Prof. Amazing. I was about to say, hey, we need that in Malawi. Is Malawi included in that kind of partnership? So, I'm joking. We can talk that later.
Yeah, well, we had for many years, I think it's still going on, we had in Israel, I was part of designing it, courses, intensive courses that people came from different parts of the world, a lot from Africa. I think also from Malawi, I'm not 100% sure, but came and learned about the different techniques, about the practice of the different techniques in Israel. And there are also some courses that can be taken to different countries, including Malawi, and contribute to some people over there.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I
So
see
the way
here,
I'm doing,
by the way, I see here two questions which I would like to address. Is this okay?
please go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
One, Victor asked, how safe is recycled water? Very safe. They are not drinking, they are not just used for agriculture, just because of the mentality, because people, they don't feel comfortable, but they are very safe. They are twice recycled, and there is always a control for heavy metal and E. coli in the system. There is a quality control for this kind of things. They are not filtered twice or three times before being released. And Victor asked again, can you explain how you optimize water and nutrition for crop production using precision agriculture. This is a big, big issue. This is not something that you can address in one short, limited. But the point is that you can also scan your field and with certain, how do you call it, detection methods, and see where you have some lack of water or overwatering and whatever, and then you can optimize your irrigation system. And under the Malawian condition, I have to come over and learn about the Malawian condition before I can give you any advice. Kenneth is asking, thank you, Professor. Do you have a program for scholarship running? And there are some scholarships, but you need to contact the embassy, the Israeli embassy, if there is one. And there are some possibilities. I don't know how limited, and is asked to buy drip irrigation here in Malawi is expensive. How do we combat?
I think Professor,
yes.
that one, I think
Yes.
that's why we have brought in Lughano Mwenibabu.
Yes.
He will kind of
Yes.
contextualize the presentation of Professor. So please, I think Lughano's presentation will help you a lot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Sure. I don't know if there is another question. Yes, Professor, I think there is another question.
I've just discovered that drip irrigation is reduced water consumption.
And is it not expensive?
Yeah, it is
drip
expensive.
irrigation?
I think it is expensive, but again, I'm not that much familiar with the economic considerations in Malawi. I guess they're not as in Israel. It depends on the crop. And also it depends, I mean, if you increase your yield and you reduce the water, I don't know how much you're paying for the water, then it should balance somehow, but I'm not sure that it is applicable to all, small holding.
I think, Professor, I think some of the questions here, I think they will be addressed by Lughano and partly by Professor Michael Rudolph, because I'm seeing it that they are more of Malawi context. So
yeah. Okay, fine.
Yeah, sure. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm calling it introduction because we need to do another one.
Yeah.
We need to do another presentation.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Maybe at this meantime, I should bring Lughano, and then Professor Michael will kind of wrap it up. Lughano, I think in his presentation, you also kind of address some of these things from a local context. Lughano, please jump in. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Funiro. Maybe just to answer this question, the first question about water drip, drip irrigation, is it expensive? Yeah, drip is expensive, but yes, it is expensive, but then the benefits that comes along with it, it's worth it. Like you save water, that means you reduce pumping costs and all those costs that are still with the bringing water. So like here in Malawi, most parts, some parts like Doha, we don't have much rivers, so you can use groundwater. So if you're using groundwater, definitely you need an efficient system. So drip irrigation comes in handy. But to be honest, drip irrigation is expensive because most of the stuff that are used to make drip irrigation pipes and fittings, they are all imported. It might even be more expensive than in Israel because they do manufacture themselves there. But then here we rely importing from India, China, or the other surrounding countries. Yep. All right, so I'll just share my screen and continue where I stopped. So basically, mainly as for me, I was much more concentrating on the potential of irrigation in Malawi. So to be honest, in terms of technology, we are a bit far off, but then we have a huge potential that can be used to that we can use our irrigation system, or we can use our water that we have for irrigation. So I stopped here, I think, and then I wanted to proceed with this one. Like in Malawi, if you can see this map, it shows the potential irrigation area. As you can see, it's a lot of land, that is a lot of area that we can use for irrigation. And from Israel experience, we've learned that we can do irrigation almost everywhere. If they can do it in the desert, then we can do it almost everywhere here. So, but then according to the study that we have done, we have almost, we have got, I'll just read as it is, Malawi has sufficient unused water to irrigate over 400 hectares. That is after considering all the domestic, industrial, and environmental flows. So we have enough water that is not being used as of now, and we have enough land that is not also being used for irrigation. So if someone is trying to venture into farming for irrigation, the land is still there, and the conditions are also still good. According to the plan of the government, the irrigation master plan, which was developed in 2014, they are planning that maybe by the reach of 2035, we should be able to have 220 hectares under irrigation. Well, that is an increase from 104,000 to 116,000. And we have a promising future, a little bit. Like now we have got this program, the project, which is the Shire Valley Transformation Project, which is expected to cover over 43,000 hectares along Shire River. Shire River is the only outlet of Lake Malawi, and they are trying to utilize this river with its gradient to come up with an irrigation system that can irrigate this much of land. So challenges for irrigation development in Malawi. Much as I've said, there's potential, but also we still, we have irrigation because of some of the factors that has restricted the development of irrigation. So one of it maybe is lack of basic knowledge and expertise about irrigation. In Malawi, you have almost 70 people living in the local villages, and only 30% are living in the urban areas. So most of these local people, they're the ones who are doing farming, actually, unfortunately, and then the type of method they're using for irrigation, they're not efficient enough, and the type of irrigation that they're using, they are not helping enough, and most of them, they are growing irrigation under a very small area. The other second one is financing. Much as this should not be a barrier for the startup that are trying to start up farming, but then for irrigations to come up with structures like the ones that the professor is showing for the Israeli, it requires a lot of investment, and usually financing comes in handy. While in Malawi, we don't have many bank financing irrigation projects, and that restricts a lot of individuals and a lot of farmers to engage into farming on a bigger scale that they can come to the point of exporting. The other one is lack of international markets. Much as we know that we have markets on international level, and we are competitive enough because our water is cheap, our land is cheap, we have got cheap labor, but we have lacked this access. I think we have not unlocked the potential of these markets to the Malawian population, and that's an area of concern. The other problem that I've seen is the lack of collaboration and partnership, whereby if we are to do something of greater impact, that means it needs a lot of involvement of people with from different sectors and with different knowledge and skills, and with different capacities in terms of finance and effort. So that alone has, mostly in Malawi, we have not seen much of the partnership and collaboration of maybe individual companies or organizations coming up together to form something in a very long, that will be of impact to the country of Malawi in a very long run. Yeah, recommendations. I think if we start working on the collaborations and partnership, it can help us to come up with the bigger, with bigger capacity in terms of finance, in terms of skills, and in terms of capacity, general capacity to produce enough that can be also exported outside the country. And for the people that are aspiring to go into farming, I'd suggest if you start small, that is, and grow your vision. Like in a Malawian setup, I would say you can start with land-fed. You grow your land-fed crops. After you harvest them, you use the money to buy irrigation equipment, and then you proceed from that level. And then maybe you grow on a 1 hectare land, and then the next year you increase your land, and you go on and you go on. By the end of 5 years or 10 years, you should be somewhere different. There's a farmer in Mangochi who grows tomato. He buys a lot of pipes from us, and I went one of this time when I was in Mangochi. I went to his farm. So he told me, Lughano, I've done this thing in 15 years time. Now I can do better. I can do with efficient. I know I can't, I mean, my crop cannot die due to diseases and insects because I've done the experience for a long period of time. And it helped me to understand that this farming has to be visionary. It's something that you have to put a vision over it to say, I'm starting from here. I want to have maybe equipment like the one that I'm using in Israel. It can't happen with the finance that we have in Malawi. It can't happen in 1 day, but then with the continuous improvement and the vision, it can help. It can help to grow. And I understand that most countries, even Israel, they didn't start where they are now. They started somewhere small and they've grown to the point that they are today. The other point is creation of access to international market. This is, of course, usually we put this as a government initiative to create markets for us. But then as individuals, we can also come in to create markets. Once we have markets on the national level, it might be easier for us to convince farmers to come up with the products that are needed on the international markets. I have a good example of this one. I had this customer last year from Sierra Leone. The guy is from Zimbabwe, but now he was living in Sierra Leone. He said in Sierra Leone is very close to Malawi. So they rely on tomato being imported from Germany, and they sell tomato there $5 per kg. While here for 0.5 cents, you get more than that. So if we can organize ourselves and find the market to be sending this tomato, even if we sell at $2 per hour, $2 per kg, it will be even very profitable for the economy of Malawi. So the advantage, we have a lot of advantage in terms of that we have got water, which is almost free. We have got labor, we have got land. So if we can create the access to this, it can also boost up some of the technologies that we need in the irrigation. If we've got the market, we can sell more, and then we in return we can invest more into irrigation. Another thing is to train the simple technologies to the local village farmers. Like in recent years, like since last year, we have been selling I'll just go back to this picture here. We have been selling these drip kits. We call them small drip kits, bucket drip kits, to the smallholder farmers. I think these have been helping a lot in improving their understanding of drip technology, because they have been surprised to see that they can grow crops using water that drips slowly. So if we go into the local areas and train them into the local some principles, basic principles about drip irrigation and the new technologies of irrigation, I think that might help us to grow a bigger land under irrigation in Malawi. So that's all that I had in this, which is more of just the potential for Malawi in terms of irrigation. We still have more land, and we still have more area, and we still have more water that can be used for irrigation. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Lughano.
Chifaniro, you're muted.
Thank you so much, Lughano, for, I think, bringing the context, the concept of education in Malawi. I want Professor Michael Rudolph to come in, maybe to share a bit perspective of some of the programs that he has been engaged in regard to water management and food security, especially with the case study of Southern Africa. And then we should be able to get some questions from the participants. Thank you so much. Professor Mike Rudolph, over to you.
Thank you, Chifanaro. I just wanted to check I'm aware of the time factor, and I just wanted to know, how much time you want, because I know that both presentations have stimulated a lot of interest, and so I just wanted to check on you whether what time allocation I should address, and please you can sort of don't worry. I think the talks have been excellent, and but I know that there was a specific time limit to this discussion.
Yeah, sure. So 10 minutes, and then I know there'll be a lot of questions coming up. So 10 minutes, but also I should mention that all these talks are kind of preliminary. They are kind of introductory. I think they have provoked a lot of interest. So I think we must organize another session, maybe to get a little bit deeper in these conversations. Thank you so much. So go ahead, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to choose not to necessarily use a PowerPoint presentation, but just to rather respond to a number of issues that both Professor Itamar and Lughano referred to. So just to say that in September last year, October last year, we actually were very much part of a water symposium which dealt with water systems in Africa. It also dealt mainly with water issues and management in our municipalities. And then there were some specific presentations on the work of the water, energy, food nexus, and some systems that have been developed in Switzerland and others. So I just wanted to make that point, and that I will try and share these presentations, or quite a few of them, with you, which would be certainly of interest, as I say, to everybody here today. In Malawi, some of the African examples, the municipalities, and some of the specific systems. The other issue that I wanted to raise, and of course, Professor Itamar shared with us all the exciting developments and achievements that Israel has done. But I wanted to say that, and I'm sure that he could confirm, that all of this needs a lot of different expertise. So, for example, in some of our projects in the rural areas, we have to work with people who have got expertise in flushing out old boreholes or drilling new boreholes, and even prior to that, to do a hydrological assessment to even see if there's water in the water table. And then there's the next step for purifying water. And then there's the water harvesting. And then there's the more sophisticated systems of using high technology in distributing the water and sustaining it. So again, I wanted to make the point that it's wonderful to see the systems in place, but one should not underestimate the huge amount of expertise at all different levels that are needed, from people who've got artisan skills to water technology to scientists and academics. also, very importantly, is that I think it's very difficult today to isolate water from, the other aspects that we are addressing. Food security, and it's not that I'm saying it, it is repeated. It's firstly as part of the Sustainable Development Goals. It's considered in the top 5 priorities globally and certainly in Africa, that food security is a major, major issue. And the point I wanted to make is that the water, energy, food nexus, it's essential to constantly bring this nexus into a compact whole rather than to deal with specifics. I'm also conscious that sometimes you have to have specific expertise in one particular area. But then I think that comes to the point about not such great collaboration and partnerships in Malawi. And I think this is one of the key aspects that I want to emphasize, and that we are working extremely hard to ensure that there are effective and good partnerships between higher academic institutions, with government, with NGOs, with other countries, and even within universities. As Chifanira knows, we are working with electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, smart systems, tourism and hospitality, the business school, industrial design, etc., and of course science. So again, I'm emphasizing partnerships within institutions such as a university in which I am part of, as well as the important inter-country partnerships and collaboration. I also wanted to, emphasize I do come from a health background, and that in South Africa, the issue of water and sanitation is so critical. We cannot talk about water and not talk about toilets. And of course, I've been to many agricultural projects in South and Southern Africa where the toilet systems for the workers is absolutely shocking at best. And so I just wanted again put that on the agenda, that we're not only talking water and agriculture, but water and sanitation. Only today, I got another note to say that a young kid had fallen into a toilet and had died. And so I know that's more the sanitation part, but the two are absolutely connected. The next point I wanted to raise is not only the technical and scientific aspects of water, but the socioeconomic aspects. And so we've got a sociologist who's working with us and is looking at the impact of water in terms of the social and economic impact, which is very significant and very important. So once again, it's not only talking about the technical and the scientific and the wonderful work that Prof. Itamar has highlighted, and I'm sure he could spend days and days sharing with us. And Prof, I certainly would like to follow up with your discussion. We are in the process of developing a master's course in precision agriculture, and you referred to that very briefly, but I think that is something. And then just for now, because of time, I wanted to say that we are emphasizing, our work is emphasizing the water, energy, food approach in smallholder communities, in schools, on campuses, in villages, in community-based settings, rather than on these huge massive multi-billion rand, dollar, euro infrastructure investments, which of course are important and essential. They're absolutely essential, but I just wanted to say that at our Center for Ecological Intelligence, we are focusing more on, as I say, schools, campuses, and villages and small communities. So, Chifaniro, those are just some brief comments and perhaps headings that we could elaborate on and flesh out at a subsequent meeting. So again, I'm watching the time and I see that I've gone over my 10 minutes. So thank you for this opportunity. I've learned a lot, and hopefully we can continue to share and build some really good relationships and partnerships going forward. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Wow. Wonderful. Professor Itamar has just clapped hands. So wonderful. And a comment, Professor Itamar, before I come in.
Yeah, first of all, I totally agree with the comments of my colleague, and they are really, it makes sense. We have to look, even in Malawi and anywhere else, the agricultural system is part of the entire holistic national overview, not only as something that you pump in water and you come out with some food and distribute. I think one of the things that we experienced in Israel, and this is, we identify it as one of the success, the keys to success in Israel is what we call a golden triangle. I don't know if you heard about this term before in the previous presentations, but it means that in Israel, when it was developed, the agriculture, the culture, the economy, everything was developed. There were three partners in this success. One of them is the R&D, is the research. Second of all is a very strong communication with the farmers, going back and forth, and a very much involvement between professors, researchers, and the farmers, and also the extension service, which played a very, very important role to deliver the knowledge and to provide and to also get some input and feedback from the farmers. In the recent years, there have been another component to this interaction, and this is the industry. The companies that are involved see themselves as part of this whole interaction, and I think it's very, very successful, and it can be even implemented and successful in Malawi to the benefit of everyone. Here in Israel, we have also now, I'm not going to get too much into it, but what is called regenerative agriculture. It's really looking at the holistic approach of not only the agriculture practice, but also the environment, the rural area, the people, the culture, and everything. And I think this is something that needs to be discussed even further in your webinars.
Wow. Amazing. Lughano, any last word? Anything?
Not really, Chifuniro, but I'm just glad that I've managed to learn a lot today from both perspectives of a developed country like Israel, which is like #1 in the world in terms of water management. I've noted a lot of things like management of water in terms of making the water as a public resource, not just as the one-man resource. That was a good understanding. And I also learned a new thing about that wastewater is more like it has some already fertilizer, so it makes us use less fertilizer, which is a very good eye-opening. I've seen that in New Zealand. The only disadvantage the only feedback that I was that the water was a bit smelling a little bit. So that's the only drawback. But then with that saying of increased nutrients in the water, I think that's very good to note. Yep, but then it has just increased also the understanding of where we're supposed to be as a country in Malawi. Where are we supposed to be? Much as we can't get to where Israel is right now, but then we have to take small steps going towards the same step, because our management of water and the management of Israel is mostly different. Mostly different because for us, we feel like we have water and we need to use more water. But then for the Israelis, they don't have more water, but they have to utilize the little that they have. Yeah, I think those are just some of the comments that I can make. Thank you.
Wow, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Professor Michael, Professor Itamar, and Lughano, for such wonderful presentations. I feel the gaps that we are trying to fill, most participants on this platform will agree with me, is the access to this kind of knowledge, more especially to young people in Malawi. Our country is about 65% youthful. When you talk about university, access to university education, I think it's 1% of a population every year that is able to go to university, less than 1% rather. So I think we are looking at models that can make possibly this kind of knowledge available to the youthful population. As Lughano presented, we have access to water, etc. So coming up with this kind of webinars is so valuable. It's of so much value. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. I believe this is just the foundation. We're just scratching on the surface. You'll be able even to get a bit deeper and see maybe how we can all work together. Professor Michael is doing some wonderful work in Transpac as well. Lughano, there's a presentation here of National Youth Council Malawi. I feel, David, I think there's a lot of work. I'm getting a lot of questions from the young people, even in my inbox, asking a lot of questions. So I feel there's something that we can do together to promote the country of Malawi. So thank you so much for your availability. Really appreciate it. David?
Thank you so much. Just a quick word. I'm not really here to contribute to this one. You've heard enough from me last week, but just again to say thank you to everyone, and thank you to everyone for joining, and to the various panelists. I think it's been great to see so many questions come in, and I think it's clear that there's this deep interest around the lessons that can be learnt from Israel when it comes to water management. The only thing I would just end on is to say actually two things. Firstly, I saw there were a few different questions around access to training, around projects that exist, etc. It's a bit too early to reveal some of the details, but just to sort of let you know that Chifaniro and myself and my colleagues and Professor Glazer and Professor Rudolph, etc., we are talking and working towards trying to establish projects which are precisely geared towards trying to identify the lessons that are relevant to Malawi that can be taken from Israel, and how we can share those in a way that works very well for farmers, for young people, for budding agri-entrepreneurs, etc. So stay tuned, and we'll reveal as much information as we can about that as soon as possible. And the only last thing I just wanted to say is just to remind you all that in 2 weeks' time, we have the final webinar of this series, and to again just encourage you all to attend and to not miss it. It's going to be on another topic, another area where Israel boasts particularly like exceptional performances, which is the area of post-harvest management, and which is absolutely crucial, because if you look at the statistics in terms of the amounts of crops that are produced that are wasted, that never make it to a plate, it's absolutely shocking. Those statistics are absolutely shocking, and it represents such a huge loss in terms of the food production, but also even like an economic loss for the farmers. So please don't forget to join us in 2 weeks. You'll be getting reminder emails anyway, but I just wanted to mention it now, and to again say thank you to everyone, and speak to you very soon.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.